Hello and welcome to It's a Fandom Thing. I'm your host, Erin Marlowe, and we are continuing our celebration of our unofficial mascot, Christian effing Bale, with a look at the 2016 film, The Promise. And I have with me, as always, my lovely, wonderful co host for January and the person who puts up with our unofficial mascot, Christian effing Bale. Carla. Hello, Carla.
Hello, and thank you for recognizing my struggle.
Yes. And for those who are new, it's not the real Christian Bale that she puts up with. Just a disclaimer. It's quote unquote Christian. I just always want to put that there because I'm like, someday someone's going to listen and be like,
That doesn't sound like Christian at all.
no,
Honestly, if you can't tell that it's not the real deal, then you're not a real Balehead anyway. So,
exactly.
what do
Yes.
we care?
Yes. So Bale heads out there. I know you'd be like, if someone did be like, what is up with Christian? Why does he keep appearing that?
Isn't he married with children? Yes, and they also stay here with me. What about it? We are a very welcoming family. Sometimes, whether we like it or not.
Whether we like it or not, as long as the marshmallows are there.
Yes, if we have a steady stream of marshmallows, we have a steady stream of Bale.
Yes. God, sorry, this is sounding really wrong. Anyway.
I'm sorry. Did somebody say marshmallows?
Oh, Christian, hello. Oh
Hello,
my God.
Ellen. What a lovely
Hello.
surprise to see you.
What a lovely surprise to see you too so early on. Oh my gosh. Hello.
Oh, yes. Thank you. Thank you. It is wonderful to see you. I did hear the word marshmallows, however, and I do not see any in my vicinity. I suppose if I do ask, I will be told, go get them yourself, you lazy lump. How is Josh?
You lazy lump. So, Christian, during our pop culture episode, which I'm sure you listened to those as well.
Of course.
We were talking about a Bale-a-thon, almost like Toyota-thon.
A Bale-a-thon like a Toyota-thon. Why, yes, I love it. Oh my gosh, I am so excited. I could absolutely scream. Ah! Yes, let's do this Bale-a-thon! Oh, I am delighted by this thought, this news, this very thought, the idea. Oh, marvelous.
Yeah, so I just want to know really quickly if you had a Bale-a-thon and you were like offering a sale on something, what would it be that you would want to sell?
Oh, well, Erin, you know how I am. I am a very modest man. I am not someone who really is very materialistic, as you know. In fact, I'm just thinking back. I'm harkening back to the days when I built my truck, which is now about 20 years old. It is older than many of your listeners, in fact. And I would never part with it except if it was for a very charitable endeavor. But I might be convinced to bail off perhaps some souvenirs from one of my movies. Would that bring you joy?
Yes, I love that answer. Yes, yes, that's a great answer, Christian. Well,
Fantastic. I have a vial of water from the movie The Prestige, from one of the many, many tanks in which I was submerged for many, many hours. I had some of it bottled for posterity. Some has evaporated, unfortunately, because apparently that's what water does. Who would have known? But I did manage to retain some of them for funsies.
okay. That's kind of creepy, but okay.
Creepy? No, darling Erin. Creepy would be if I kept any of the like the teeth of any of my co-stars from any one of my very physical roles in which there was punching about, and maybe sometimes accidentally, of course, somebody lost a tooth. These things happen, Erin. These things happen. That is the magic of Hollywood.
Wow. Okay, this took quite a turn, Christian.
Oh, I didn't know what it did. Also, you did not hear me actually say to any of that. All of that is merely speculation on your part, of course.
On my part.
Yes. You allege that you heard that from my mouth, but did you? Did you, Erin? Did you, in fact? I don't know.
Ooh, it's all an
Uh,
illusion.
Sorry, I am just getting into character for one of my very much more serious characters, and I cannot yet disclose. Please do not ask me to
Okay.
disclose anything about this film, but it is a very serious character, and I take it very seriously, as I do happen to take many things seriously, as you are aware.
Yes.
But for
Yes.
now, let us allow the merriment commence while we can. As you know, this film that we will be discussing today is very serious.
It is very serious. So it
Yes. Oh,
is.
I don't know why I'm smiling so during such a serious time when I should be more serious myself.
Yes.
Now,
Yeah.
I will seriously walk down to the kitchen to look for the very serious marshmallows, if you will excuse me.
Okay. Okay. Good luck. Happy,
Thank you.
happy marshmallow hunting.
I appreciate it.
Oh, you never know when Christian's gonna pop up. So it was nice.
I
Yeah.
certainly don't.
You're like, I was in the middle of talking, dude. Uh,
Story of my life.
but he always interrupts. But yes, it is a very serious movie that we are talking about, and I do want to give a huge trigger warning. This movie deals with genocide, so trigger warning for genocide. That's probably one of the biggest trigger warnings you can give for anything. So I will let you know. I'm going to give you a little bit more from Wikipedia this time instead of IMDb because I did want to share a little something on here from the co-writer and director. But The Promise is a 2016 American epic historical war drama, directed and co-written by Terry George. The screenplay he also co-wrote with Robin Sweecord. It is set in the final years of the Ottoman Empire, and the film stars Oscar Isaac, Charlotte Le Bon, and Christian Bale. I know, again, I'm listing Christian third, but I mean,
He's downstairs. He can't hear you.
yeah, and that's where he should be listed in this anyway. So,
Yeah.
The plot is about a love triangle that develops between Mikhail, and played by Isaac, an American medical. Sorry, let me do that again. The plot is about a love triangle that develops between Mikhail, played by Oscar Isaac, who is an American medical student, Chris, played by Christian Bale, who's an American journalist, and Anna, played by Le Bon, who is an American-born woman raised in France, and also it's like a singer and everything. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Armenian born?
No. Oh, yes. Sorry. It's looked like it said American born. I am so sorry. Oh my gosh. Let me take this again because it really looked like it said American. I apologize.
I know they're just too close together.
Yeah, and it should have hit me too when I was saying that, but duh. Okay. The plot is about a love triangle that develops between Mikhail, played by Oscar Isaac, who is an American medical student, Chris, played by Bale, who's an American journalist, and Anna, played by Le Bon, who is I see, I almost did it again, an Armenian-born woman raised in France immediately before and during the Armenian genocide. I am so sorry, everybody. I may have to record that separately again because that was really bad. Uh, so for the people watching on the video, you get to see all these versions of me.
All of the iterations.
Yes, you get all of the little bloopers here. So The Promise premiered on September 11th, 2016 at the Toronto International Film Festival, and it was released by Open Road Films in the United States on April 21st, 2017, on the 102nd anniversary of the week the genocide started. The film received mixed reviews and was a box office bomb, grossing just $12 million against a $90 million budget and losing Open Road over $100 million. The reason I'm sharing this is because of what's said after. So, however, the studio noted the main purpose of the film was to bring attention to the story, not to make money, with George saying that audiences learn more from films today than they do from history books, which there's a lot in that little quote there that you can glean from. And the film also features the song The Promise, which was the final single released by Chris Cornell, who died less than a month after the film's US release, which is, of course, very, very sad. Um, so, yes. So, what I first want to know, of course, since even though Christian Bale is very much a supporting person in this movie, I do want to know, though, since it is his month, what are your thoughts on Christian Bale's performance?
I thought he was so good in this. I think that his passion for the project really shone through. I watched a couple of interviews with him from when they were doing the press for the film, and he talked so passionately about bringing the story of the Armenian people and the genocide that they suffered, um, and how important it is for everybody to know about and reflect on it. Because before he had received the script, he knew very little about it. In fact, I think most people raised in the U.S. knew very little about the Armenian genocide, um, and that's by design because the Turkish government does everything in its power to kind of suppress the propagation of information about it. In their eyes, they they want to keep it quiet. They don't want to call attention to it. They refuse to refer to it as a genocide. Um, you can be severely punished by the government if you're in Turkey. Speak out about it. There's still consequences if you criticize the government for this action. Um, so I think that it's very important that actors of his caliber and Oscar Isaac's caliber attach their names to projects like this and talk very candidly about both their ignorance before they got the project and of what they've learned and the outrage that it caused within them as they prepared for it. So I think a lot of that informs his approach to this character, Chris, who's an American journalist. And as always, when Christian Bale takes on an American character, he really dives into the U.S. man kind of swagger. I think there's something right, like because if you, I think if you live in an area that has a lot of what's it called of not variety, diversity of diversity, and you see typical United States, particularly the U.S. born and bred type of dude versus somebody who is an immigrant, there's a lot of difference in the way that they present themselves, that they speak, that they even walk. And Christian Bale really channels that kind of arrogance that United Statesians still see as arrogance. It's just the way that we are, because this is what we've always been brought up to believe, that we are the dominant ones, the ones who are bringing the right things to the world. So his characters, the way that he handles people is very much like that, in a way of like, I don't understand why you're not, just doing what I say. And that is not even a criticism necessarily as a failing of this character. I think that it's just a very US quality that that we tend to overlook because we don't want to see it that way. But you can certainly see it if you're traveling and you encounter somebody from the US versus somebody from one of many other countries. But it also, because of that, gives Chris, the reporter, an air of inevitability. Like, of course, he is going to, ruffle some feathers and, stir the pot and get things done. Like, you don't really question that he will get to the right ears. You don't question that he will get somebody to come for him. You don't question that he will end up going back to help rescue Armenian people. It is just that heroic US swagger. Now, for that same reason, upon first view, it can feel a bit much like the white saviorism really feels like it comes through, the particularly the United States white saviorism of like, oh, like constantly reminding the French like, you'd be speaking German if it wasn't for us. Like, okay, bro, okay, like chill. That's like nearly 100 years ago right now. Like, and you guys have become, anyway, I'm not gonna get into US politics right this second. Whew, deep breath. But I think that all of that are what make Christian Bale's performance in this movie so good, because he really captures the essence of a of a U.S. journalist who uses his standing, his name, his position, and his roots as a way to not only save himself but to help other people. Because what I was terrified in this movie was that he was going to, you know, just abandon the Armenian people. But in that scene where where he's begging no 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 as he thinks he's about to be executed, I thought he's definitely gonna turn tail, and he didn't. And again, part white saviorism, but also part uh, true to life heroics, because there are always so many journalists who put everything on the line to report the truth, to show the world what is happening in places where they do everything to obfuscate that truth. To this day, we have journalists from all over the world covering the genocide in Gaza, the genocide in Sudan, everything that is happening in Syria and in the Congo, and just so many people putting everything on the line in the name of the truth. And it's a movie, so it has to be more cinematic. It has to be exaggerated. So in that sense, I'm not mad at it, to put it simply. I think it's very, very well done. And his scenes with, because all of the exchanges between all of the lovey parties are very brief, which I appreciate. But all of his scenes with Anna are very intense, which is great for the romantic part of the story. They're very intense, but not suffocating, where you're like, bro, chill out. He does have that, again, it's that arrogance of the United States person, where it's like, but you're my girl, like, why are you talking to that dude? But it doesn't feel like he's gonna punch anybody over it.
Yeah. Excuse me. Yes. Yes. Very, very true. This was my first time watching this movie. I had not seen this movie. I thought I had, but I hadn't.
Same.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I thought that this was like I thought this was like the rom-com one, like the rom-com-y one.
Oh, I think
And
isn't that the Captain Corlelli's
something like,
or the
yeah,
violin one?
I think so. But you know what? I was like, this whole time I've been like, yeah, I'll watch this, whatever. And then I started watching and I was like, oh no. This is very different from what I expected. I will say it's a fantastic movie, and I think so many more people should watch it. But I was really, really kind of thrown by how different it was from what I thought it would be.
Yeah, and because I looked up on Wikipedia for putting together the outline, because I hadn't watched it yet and I wanted to just see what would be important there. And when I looked it up, I went, oh, so this is totally different than what I kind of expected.
Yeah.
And that could be part of the reason. I mean, I don't know, like, what happened with the box office, that kind of stuff. But so yeah, so this was a brand new watch for me. This was a first time watch for me. And yeah, that arrogance is so true. And Christian brings that anytime he's playing a character from the United States, he brings that. And I'm sure part of that is also from him living in the United States for so long, and probably, watching people around him and taking that in. And he's also in an industry that can be filled with arrogance. So I think that's also part of what maybe that comes from. And with the journalism thing, because what he's doing is, he's covering something that no one's talking about. No one's talking about this genocide. And still to this day, I mean, I don't remember ever being taught this in school. This is a very new thing because nobody was focused on a genocide of the Armenian people. And it's just like a genocide, the genocide in Gaza, I'm sure years from now, who knows how that will be handled in history books, if that'll even be talked about. So it's great, because that's the purpose of good journalism, is to really, really cover things that other people aren't talking about, and to really get to the truth, and to basically, that to basically know that you have to find the truth and discover the truth, and people deserve to know the truth. But I think what can also happen is tunnel vision can happen. And you see that happen with the character Chris sometimes, where he forgets that there are other he knows the human beings involved, but he also forgets sometimes about the human beings. If that makes sense. Like when he has the driver and he like basically abandons his driver because he's got to find out this. And I'm like, dude, you just might have signed that. You might have just, that guy might die because of what you just did. But it's that tunnel vision of, I've got to get this story out. People have got to know the truth, because then we can maybe save people's lives. But he's also not thinking about like the immediate effect of that. And he's also got that tunnel vision when it comes to Anna, which is understandable because he loves her. And so he wants to, his initial reaction with her is, I'm going to get you a visa. I'm going to get you out of the country. She's like, no, if my people are in danger, I'm in danger. And so I have to stay here. And I'm glad though that wasn't like this thing that was like, I mean, of course he didn't want to hear that answer, but I'm glad that it wasn't like this thing that became this thing where he like tried to kidnap her or tried to somehow pressure her,
forcibly save her,
which you would normally see in movies like this. And there is the risk of white savior. There is a scene with James Cromwell in this movie where he goes when Chris is being held prisoner and he is trying to negotiate his release. And the way he's talking about how the American people are outraged by what you're doing. And I was just kind of like, are they though? Do they even care?
Right, like, do
and
they even know?
It was kind of like the white, to me, it came off, that was kind of where it was teetering in the white saviorness. And every time it would teeter and go that way, it kind of pulled back a little bit, which was interesting to watch. But I think he's really, really good where he does have that ego, but he does really care. He really loves the people he is talking about, the people he's covering. He loves Anna. He loves all these people. And he has great compassion there. He, he just really, really wants the world to actually do something. And he's very frustrated that the world isn't doing anything. And he needs to get his stories out there in the hopes that people will wake up and really look at what's happening. And I think he's also like, I'm from this country that supposedly cares and is supposedly more advanced than any other country and supposedly wants to do things. But will they actually do something if I'm actually getting the word out there? Which, of course, normally they don't. But anyway, so I thought he was really good as always. He's definitely not the main character, which is good. I'm glad he wasn't the main character because this movie very easily could have made him the main character.
Right.
And the other people, just people he meets. Instead, it's not really he's kind of like, in a way, the audience in a way, as far as like he's covering it. So he's covering what the audience is seeing, and the audience is seeing the true human toll and, stuff like that. And we are going to talk a little bit about the love triangle at the end and kind of like a more lighter thing in a way, but and also because I have a couple thoughts on the love triangle story thing, which it's not really, in my opinion, really a love triangle, but we'll get to that in a second. I mean, you could also look at it like there's a couple of love triangles.
Yeah.
So it's not just, or a square, a love square.
It's like a love pyramid or a love rhombus.
Yeah. Yes. But when we come back after this short break, we are going to talk about how well or how the film handles discussing the Armenian genocide, something that really is not talked about. Like we said, in history books here, we don't hear about it here and all over. This isn't just something that's not just, it's people don't talk about this. So we're going to talk about that once we come back from the break. Oh, and people that are watching a video, you don't have to deal with the break.
Congratulations.
Yeah. Okay, and we are back. So, Carla, how well do you think this film does with discussing the Armenian genocide?
Okay, and this is gonna, I will get to the point, I promise you. But here's how I came to know about the Armenian genocide, through Kim Kardashian. Now, Kim Kardashian, whatever you may think of her, the reason that I'm bringing her up at all is that her father is of Armenian descent. And this is something that I heard of like many, many years ago. And I was like, oh, I don't know much about Armenia. Let me look into it. So I started reading about Armenia. I read some stuff about the genocide, and uh, and some bits and pieces about how the effect of the genocide and the way that the Turkish government works like on overdrive to suppress the information about it to this day. So I did know a bit about it. I am by no means a history expert. I'm not a historian of any kind. I enjoy history, learning about history to a point, but for the purposes of understanding the movie and how well the movie handled anything to do with this topic, I of course went to YouTube, because there are so many YouTubers out there who are experts in history and who have a lot more knowledge about history than I do. So I found a channel called The Cynical Historian, and they have a video about the movie that came out 7 years ago. The video, I think, is very informative. It gives you a lot of background into how the genocide came about. It goes back to the 1700s and 1800s and all of that. So this is all stuff that you don't see in the movie, which again, it's a movie. It's to call to attention the the fact of the genocide, but because it's a movie and not a history book, it doesn't have the time to really delve much deeper into the whys and wherefores of all of this. So I strongly recommend that video, um, because it helped me understand a lot more context, and it also helped me understand why this movie can be seen as an excellent handling of a very difficult topic. Um, this movie focuses more on the humanity of the people than on the machinations and politics that go behind why they are being slaughtered, which I think for a Hollywood movie is important, because this is just basically to make you understand this happened. It's not to tell you the entire history of it. It's just to get you interested in the fact that it happened at all. And I think everybody would benefit from seeing it that way. It's not meant to be comprehensive. It's not meant to be in depth. It's just meant to inform you that this happened in the first place. So to that end, I think that the handling of it as it was done very well, because it gives you a look into the lives of the Armenian people before the forced deportations, before the the massacre started. Um, the the scene where you have all of the intellectuals, the bankers, the doctors, the professors being slaughtered. That's a very real thing that happened, and they have so many touch points within the film that you can point to history and say, yes, this happened. Yes, this happened like that. Yes, this happened like that. Which is really, I think, all you can ask for a movie whose hook is it's a love triangle. But I think that's very important because I think we are more likely to go watch a movie about a love triangle than we are to watch a movie about the Armenian genocide. Um, as for the character played by James Cromwell, Henry Morgenthau, he was a real person. He was, and I'll read from Wikipedia, he was a German born American lawyer and businessman, best known for his roles as the ambassador to the Ottoman Empire during World War I. Morgenthau was one of the most prominent Americans who spoke about the Greek genocide and the Armenian genocide, of which he stated, I am firmly convinced that this is the greatest crime of the ages. Now, mind you, this is before the Holocaust. This is before so many other genocides that have and continue to take place to this day. In fact, the word genocide wasn't even coined until the um, the genocide of the Armenian people, the Assyrians, and um, so many Greek people by the Ottoman Empire. So they touch on a lot of things briefly that are true to history. They don't delve into it very much, and I think that serves the movie well. It does. You don't leave the film being like, what the hell just happened? I don't understand. You leave a film with an understanding of what people were going through and how their families went from thriving and you have family in this city and that city to suddenly your bloodline just boils down to you and your cousin. Um, which I think a lot of, unfortunately, a lot of people can relate to through their family histories or their family's current experience. Um, Also, I, in my eyes, um, I like that, like with any evil organization, any organization comprised of people who hate other people, such as the administration that is about to retake office in the United States in a few days. Um, you can't just look at the entire country and be like, oh, the Turkish people were awful. The Turkish people were this or that, because the government is not always of by and for the people. Sometimes it is of by and for the people in power who got to power by dirty means. It's not to exculpate the country of Turkey for its role, or rather for its murder of Armenian people, but rather to say there were so many people within Turkey who were doing their best within their ability to help Armenian people to not suffer the fates that they suffered.
Yes, and I will be putting a link to the YouTube video that Carla mentioned. I'll put that in the show notes. No matter if you're watching the video version or listening, it will be in the show notes so you can easily access that. So that will be there. Look for that so that you can research that. And I think totally the point about excuse me, sorry. The point about how um, you know, frame this very much from the human side, the humanity and looking at people and their relationships with each other, and especially with a love story being in there, several love stories, and also a family story as well. That is a way you can really make people connect to a group of people. And that's why, the quote that I read in the beginning from the director saying that people learn about this stuff more from film than they do from history books. They learn about genocides, they learn about all sorts of huge historical events from film and from television. And it's true because I think what a lot of it is people feel like they can't necessarily understand or fully comprehend an event if they can't feel for who's involved in it. And so in order I'm so sorry, excuse me. And so in order to make a successful movie or a successful film that is going to be talking about a topic like the Armenian genocide, a topic that nobody talks about, and make it successful where people will want to go and watch and learn and learn more about what happened and actually maybe tell other people, hey, did you know this happened? And then kind of pass it along so that others learn, is by making the viewer feel connected to the subjects on the screen. And the biggest way you can connect to subjects on screen is through the stories of love, honestly. And so I think that is part of the reason they probably decided to write it as a love story. I know that is a big criticism of this movie, honestly, is the love story, because people are like, if you're talking about something so heavy as this, you shouldn't have a little light love story. But I think the purpose of that love story is to bring people in and then go, well, actually, this is about a bigger love story in a way, the love of a people that were of a genocide that happened to families and decimated whole families. Um, and talking about something that was never talked about before, that isn't talked about and still isn't talked about. This still isn't talked about. It's not like this movie came out and now everybody talks about this movie, this genocide. No, that doesn't happen at all. I mean, I'm not in school, so I don't know, but I am pretty much can guarantee this is not in 99.999% of history books, of in any history books.
Right.
So it's not like this movie came along and now everybody talks about it, but you have to start somewhere. And honestly, and that's why, like, yeah, like Carla said, whatever you're going to think about Kim Kardashian, whatever, but if somebody in that, up with that kind of following, and everybody knows who she is, even if you don't like her, you know who she is, for her to speak out and to talk about something that nobody talks about is huge. That's why I always say, if anybody has a platform, they should be using it to speak out about things, because that is how people get their news. It's not through history books, it's through celebrities. And I know, and as much as that may bother you, it's the truth. And so if people can use that and use that voice as a way to get the truth out about things that have really happened or things that are really going on, then that's important. That's why a movie like this is important. And that's why it's important for the filmmakers to frame it with humanity and to make the Armenian people who were being slaughtered, to make them real live flesh and bone human beings with love, hate, friendships, dreams, aspirations, everything like that, with arts, with music, so that people can say, oh, these are real people, that this really happened to real people that I can relate to. Because that's the way you get people to care. It honestly is. Just by just by saying, oh, you should care about this, or here's what happened, and pinpointing the exact political reasons, the exact this. And I'm not saying it's not important to look at that stuff, but the way you get people to really connect, and I'm talking about the general the general world here, is by making people be able to see themselves in what is happening. That's the only way I believe that change can happen. And so that's why it's important when you're making movies like this to do that, and to not make the focal point be the white person. So the fact that even though Chris is an important character in the movie, he's not the focal point. Mikhail definitely is the focal point of this movie. And so if you had made Chris the focal point, you would have still made it where it was kind of like an outsider and kind of like an us versus them thing, where and that's not how you want to approach these things. That's what white saviorism and those kind of movies do so wrong all the time. They're like, the only way we can make people care is if we make it from the white person's perspective. No, you just you just talk about people. You just everybody experiences love. Everybody experiences dreams, desires, wants. And so it's not, you don't want to turn everything into white saviorism. So I think that's that's what I really applaud this movie for, is there were so many times when it came so close to being a white savior movie, and every time it would come close to that, it pulled back really quickly, because that's not what the focal point was of this movie. So I think it handles it, especially for something that I was never taught about. I can guarantee probably the majority of our listeners were not taught about this, don't know anything about it. you haven't watched this movie, you can watch it now on Peacock, Tubi, I think Plex, a bunch of places. And remember, Tubi is free, always is free. Yes, you have to deal with ads, but it's free. So if you haven't seen it, I'm sure you can rent it through the Libby app, through the I think that's the one where you can do the films, but through your library. You can go to your local library and get it there too. So if you haven't seen it, watch it. And then, of course, go and learn more and read more and then tell people, talk about it, cover it. And so once again, we'll put a link to that YouTube video that Carla was referencing. And if there's any other things you think should be referenced, any other videos, any other material about this genocide, please, please let us know. And we could also share that information as well. Because it is very important that we keep talking about things that have happened because, history repeats itself all the time. Genocides haven't gone away. Genocides are currently happening right now, lots of genocides. And the way, anything can happen is to talk about it. I mean, that's where you first start, is to not be silent about it and to not forget that it's happening. So, and art can be used as a very, very powerful vehicle to get the word out there, get the message out there, have people learn about things. And yes, of course, it's a movie, so there's going to be Hollywood elements to it, but still, this is where you can start. And Kim Kardashian and other people speaking out is also another way. Actors taking roles like this because they want people to know the true history of the world. So that's where you start out with. Okay, so we're going to take another quick little break here for those listening. Video version will be right back here in just like 2 seconds. And we are going to talk about, the lighter aspect here as far as like the love triangle, the love pyramid, the love square, the love octagon.
Rhombus.
Yeah, love rhombus. Not a circle, because then that means that
No.
that doesn't work. Yeah. So we will talk about that. And I mean, I think this is a question I'm asking. Everybody's going to know this is the stupidest question, Erin, because, who would you choose? I think it's pretty evident who you would end up choosing. And I think it's pretty evident from the first moment. That's why it's kind of like love triangle. I don't know. So when we come back, we'll talk about the love story. Okay. So Carla, this love rhombus pyramid. I mean, they say it's between, Mikhail, Anna, and Chris. But
sure.
Do you think this is even I know. Do you think this is even a love triangle? And who would you choose? I mean, I don't know. I know it's kind of a stupid question, but I had to ask it just because.
It's a love straight line with like a little offshoot coming out of it sometimes. And I was like, because I hate love triangles so much. I think that they're a waste of time. They get on my nerves. And it's like, oh my God, are people really this flaky and indecisive in real life? And so I was really glad that there was like so little actual focus on the alleged love triangle, because it made it kind of easier to absorb the rest of the film and what was going on. But part of me was also like, oh my God, can you please just tell Chris that you don't like him?
I know.
Because like Anna, like there was really no point at which she was like, so listen, Chris, I hooked up with this guy from my homeland and I really, really like you. And I think you're a really, really cool and nice person. However, it's not going to happen. So, and I don't know if they maybe, I don't know what the what the point of it even was, other than to like, oh, don't leave your seat yet. They may still end up together. Who knows? But I was very glad that it was kind of like a bit predictable where everything was going. And for a movie where a lot of what you come across as far as just it's a romance set in blah 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 blah. Like, where's the romance? Like, where's the beef? Where's the romance? Where, like, is it under this rock? Is it under this hat? I don't see it because there was really not a lot of romance going on between Chris and Anna. Um, from the beginning, it's more like he's escorting someone who has been really nice to him, so he's like, oh, I can't really ditch her, like she's been really cool. um, and it was just like they were besties who shared a room. Like they were roomies, they were besties, they were Phoebe and Rachel when they were roomies very briefly until Rachel almost burned down the apartment. But so that made it a lot easier to root for Mikhail and Anna. Although I was also really like so sad for poor Morale, because
Oh, I
she's out there
know.
like wishing and hoping and praying, and then she finally gets the guy back and she gets pregnant, and then of course genocide. But as far as her role in this love line with a couple of little barbs shooting off from it, like poor girl, like she didn't even know she was being cheated on, like she never, which, again, thank God she never had to go through that hell of finding that out. But I did love that when Chris was with her, he was with her. So there was at least not Chris, Mikhail, because I was like, if you don't treat this woman right, bro, if you don't treat her right,
Yeah.
like, she's your wife, she really likes you, her family let you go to Constantinople. I'm sorry, every single time, like, Istanbul, okay, Istanbul, like,
Yeah, I know.
like in the press stuff that I was watching, it's like, oh, it takes place in Constantinople. It's like, you can call it Istanbul, people will know. Everybody has heard that song. We all know
I know.
that, they're the same place. um but I was like, oh my God, please, this woman is so nice, she's so sweet, and she really, really wants to have a life with you. Like, just treat her kindly, please. And Anna, I loved her. I really enjoyed her as a character. I think she was just really cool, for the time, especially. Like, I don't know what things were like in Turkey and Armenia um, during this time, but like, she was a pretty independent woman, given all things. She was able to, like, move around on her own without having to be escorted everywhere. Um, she seemed to have, like, she had her own career, her own aspirations, and all of that, which I really like. Is like the whole, like, oh, I'm a little damsel, I'm just a little girl, just a little girl out here in the big wide world. Please come rescue me. There was never a point where she seemed to need rescuing, and Chris attempting to rescue her is both a very American and also very laughable, because she clearly does not need your help, bro. Like, and like you said, it's great that she said, no thanks. And he's like, all right, cool. All right. That's what you chose. That's what we're doing. Um, but the actress, Charlotte LeBon, I believe,
Uh-huh. Yes.
she was, I think she was really good at capturing that kind of spirit of a character without making her twee or um, uh, like fakely independent and sugary sweet, because she spends a lot of time being Maria von Trapp with these kids, but not.
I'm sorry. It's true.
But like, not in a way where you're like, oh God, she's so annoying. Like, there's never a time at which you're annoyed by Anna for existing as herself. Where I feel like in a lot of love triangles, like, they often um, write the woman as being thoroughly obnoxious, and I don't know why either of these guys would want to be with you. They make her really enjoyable to be around. Like, you kind of want to befriend her and pick her brain, because she's like really smart. Um, but yeah, it was not a love triangle. I'm sorry to tell you. Like, if you're going in there being like, oh my God, I can't wait to see the kissing. Like, there's a bit of kissing, okay, but that's not like that much. But I do appreciate that they use this as like the hook of like, hey, everybody, come see a romance, and then they're like, psych. But oh, and if you're listening to this, you probably have watched the movie, and if not, you should probably go watch it. But okay, so if you haven't watched it yet and are going to be watching it, which you definitely should, like cover your ears for like 15-20 seconds, okay? Because I'm about to drop a big spoiler in case. So go la 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 la. Are you ready? 3, 2, 1. I really do like that she dies because it's it's not used as for man pain. It's not used to advance the man's story. It is just a thing that happens. Sometimes people die. Sometimes they're the people that you love, and I appreciate that the men don't blame each other. They cry on each other's shoulder, and I think that is a beautiful, beautiful thing because men don't get enough opportunities on film to be emotional with each other. So, okay, if you're back, I said absolutely nothing. Don't worry about it. You missed nothing at all. But it's just I thought it was like a really real thing, like a very real moment that didn't feel cheap. And this love line slash spiky, like a little caterpillar, little millipede, little chinahuate. I'll send you a picture of a chinahuate so you can see what I'm talking about, and you'll be like, "Oh, that's chinahuate." I'm gonna be like, "I told you."
So you're choosing Mikhail, though. I'm assuming.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was supposed to choose somebody. No, I'm choosing Anna because she's the best.
Oh, okay. I should have said, or you could choose Anna.
Oh yeah, no, yeah, I'm choosing Anna. She's gorgeous. She's delightful. And she makes Alouette seem not like the absolutely barbaric song that it is.
Oh my gosh, thank you. That song.
That song, I'm like, why do people sing that?
I know.
Come here, little birdie. I'm going to pluck off every single thing that makes you a birdie. And then we'll sing about it. And eat the macaron with like a bit of champagne.
So many songs that are supposed to be so cheerful and happy are like look up what Ring Around the Rosie really means, okay? And then you'll but maybe we'll do an episode about that someday. Not the song, but how songs seem happy but they're really not. So this really isn't there really isn't a love triangle here, and I think if they were going to make it a love triangle, they would have made because they usually do, this is the formula. One of the men is clearly the wrong man for her. And they would have made Chris more of like a pompous jerk or something like that. Or they would have made him be like, when she said, no, I'm not going, he would have been like, yes, you are going, and tricked her somehow. Or Chris would have put Mikhail in serious grave danger on purpose because all that stuff. And they avoided that, which is good. I think the reason, because Anna very clearly loves Chris, but is not in love with Chris. And I think the reason she's with Chris is a sense of obligation in a way because, and trigger warning for suicide, her dad killed himself or died by suicide. And Chris was there for her, is what she explains. And so I think she has this loyalty to him and feels this great sense of like, well, he helped save me. And so she feels like this sense of love for him. And I think maybe at one time it was close to being in love, but it became much more of a friendship. I do think Chris is in love with her, though. I really do think Chris is in love with her, but she's not. And when she meets Mikhail, it's very much like love at first sight when they first see each other. And then they do the cute little dancing thing, which anytime a guy does that kind of stuff, I think is very attractive. Men who are very in touch with their feelings and emotions and also are like really good with kids, I think is one of the most attractive things about a man. So instantly you can see she has fallen for him. There is a sex scene in this movie.
Yes.
So there is a sex scene.
What even for? This could have been a perfectly good PG film.
I'm just throwing that out there just because there is like so it's very clear Mikhail is who you're going to pick, but also Anna could be who you pick. But there's not really anyone to pick because these two are very clearly in love with each other. And there's like never a moment where that's not true. There's never a moment where Anna's questioning that ever. She's never like, oh my God, who should I choose? She's just like, okay, she is very hurt when she finds out that he was married and he was betrothed to someone. She did not know that. And so I understand why she's upset about that. But once again, that's not like a major thing about this movie. That's not the main storyline. That's a B plot. That's a way to get the audience in, to get them caring. And one thing I was worried about, because when this first started with the love story, honestly, with Anna, as I was like, okay, they better show more about her, because to me at first she was so thinly written that I was like, the only reason he's in love with her is because she's absolutely drop dead gorgeous, but I don't see any other reason. And then luckily, thankfully, they did. They gave her more to do, and they showed that she's a very, very independent person, and she didn't need to have a relationship. She just ended up with one. And that I appreciated and liked, because at first I was like, okay, I don't get this, other than she's gorgeous and she's artsy and that's it. So I'm glad they gave her more depth than that, because I was like really worried that I was like, oh, just a throwaway female character. And that's why when the thing that Carla talked about earlier, which I won't say it again, when that happened, instead of how that can usually be a trope that would make us all very angry, it isn't, because it's very real and it fits with the fact that this is talking about a genocide. And so it fits with what happens in this, and also, seeing the real emotions. And I really love that Mikhail and Chris, who really, didn't really necessarily like each other, they were kind of like ambivalent to each other in a way, that they really became friends in a sense. And I appreciated that. And I so appreciate that they didn't once make like this thing where like they're gonna come to blows over this, and they're gonna be like men, and they're gonna be, and they didn't do that. And I appreciated that, because that's so rare in any love triangle, that you don't show like one of them being a complete and total ass and the other one not. And I really, really, really appreciated that, because that would have cheapened this whole movie, frankly, and taken away from what the very real purpose of this movie is to bring attention to the Armenian genocide. It's not about this love triangle, because like we have stated, it's not really a love triangle.
Right. No, and that's why I love that, like, because I was so worried that Chris was gonna, give up Mikhail's location or something and be like, you can have this one. Such a relief when that didn't happen.
Instead, Chris goes, which this could have turned white savior, but it doesn't for me. Instead, Chris saves everybody and just rides off on a horse as the distraction, because I think in his mind, he's thinking, of course, I've got, this journalistic community. It'll be fine. And so, but he's not at all thinking, like you said, he could have easily been like, hey, go after Mikhail. He's right there. Right. And then gotten away with Anna. And they didn't do that, which you appreciate, because you do, even though it's very much, like it's not white centric. This movie is not very white centric. You still have to like Chris in order for this movie to work. And so if Chris had done anything like that, you would instantly hate him. And he's not a villain. And too often in love triangles, they have to paint one of the people as a villain or boring, or, like Sleepless in Seattle, where one of them has allergies. So that automatically makes them not attractive.
He's like, oh, not a bad guy.
Yeah. And the other one has a kid, so he's the good one, and the guy with the allergies.
Also, let's give it up for a man who can wear one suit for 70% of the movie and keep it crisp and clean the entire time, as he's pulling people out of the mud. Like he's jumping onto and off of a French ship in perfectly starched linens. So Chris, you domestic goddess, you.
He's like, I dream of Genie. You see his little nose switch.
Yeah, right? Suddenly everybody's dry. Woohoo! Oh, which by the way, for as far as historical accuracy, which I forgot to mention, the French did in fact do that. They did in fact go and rescue a bunch of I forget how many thousand Armenian people from that location. But yeah, like I saw Chris and that outfit. I was like, wasn't he wearing that in an earlier scene? Like, wasn't he imprisoned in that outfit? Like, does he only have that outfit? Do they only have that outfit available for journalists? Was this a journalist uniform? And that's why it always looks so clean.
The journalist uniform.
Oh, you're a journalist? Please, I will get you the vest. The vest of journalism.
Uniform. Yes. So yes. So yeah, of course, like we said, the love story is not important, which is a good thing. I think it's just a way to draw you in. So once again, you can watch this movie on Peacock, Tubi, Plex, or you can rent it at your library. And once again, check the show notes and you can watch the YouTube video that Carla mentioned earlier.
Wait, but Erin, did you say who you would pick?
Oh, wait, I didn't, did I?
You didn't.
Oh, man. Okay. Well, okay. If I was choosing between Chris and Mikhail, I would definitely choose Mikhail because of many reasons. Part of it is that, well, he looks really gorgeous in this, but
yeah, honestly,
Oscar Isaac looks amazing. That's part of it, but the other is just the dancing scene would have just totally sold. I would have been like, oh god.
Yeah. Also, free healthcare.
Oh, that's too. That's too.
This is the United States. We want a man who can mend us, like break us and then mend us. Hey, hey.
Ooh, yeah. So, but Anna in that corset with the bosoms and the side. Oh my god. Yeah. So, so I was like, I know Christian's coming.
Well, may I chime in for a moment?
Yes.
I only would briefly want to pop in to say that if I had to pick, I would not pick anybody from the love triangle. Unfortunately, we are all wonderful people that we play. However, who I would pick would be Marta, played by Sheree Angdashlu, for she is radiant and divine. That is all.
Wait, Christian, yes. Before you go, because I do agree. I agree. So before you go, since we are going to be turning to 6 Degrees of Finn Whitrock, you played last week. Did you play this week?
You shall have to get back to me after the break to find out.
Okay. We weren't going to a break.
Then never mind. There shall be no break. And you will find out right now that I, of course, did do just that. And I am absolutely not stalling. I am absolutely not accidentally typing the orange call.
The orange call?
The orange call instead of the article. And that I am going to say, well, of course, we know that we have a direct connection.
Yes, but you can't use that.
I shall not be using it. I promise.
1 degree away. You're right there.
Yes. However, I will play with my pick for a love interest, Madame Sheree Angdashlu. And she was in Ghostbusters Afterlife with Tracy Letts, who was in Deep Water with Mr. Finn Whitrock.
Wow, that was quick. Very good.
Yes,
very
all
good.
I had to do was tap into my mental Rolodex. For it was not easy for me.
Your mental Rolodex. Well, that was very good. And thank you, Christian, for being a part of this movie. And thank you for, of course, coming on. We always love seeing you, Chris. So
it is mutual.
Yeah, and we'll definitely. Did you get marshmallows, by
the way? There actually might now be a deficit of marshmallows in this house.
Ooh.
That was not a deficit before. However, there very much is now.
Oh, man.
So, VC Carla, could you just have her jot down on the list that we may or may not need more?
Okay.
I will, for now, abscond with myself. Ta-ta!
Ta-ta. So,
He ate them all, didn't he?
yes. So, so Carla, yes, he said that you have a deficit now when it comes to marshmallows.
Yeah, okay, I'm on it. I'll put it on the list. Bro. No matter how many I buy in advance.
I just really need to know if Christian Bale likes marshmallows. This is like,
I know, for real. Can you just like cheekily drop that into an interview somewhere?
I know that there's so much I want to know if I were to do an interview, but I really want to know if he likes marshmallows, because if he doesn't, it's just gonna
Oh
break.
no. Oh, Christian, would you at least pretend? Do us a solid and just pretend.
At
Just
least
be like,
pretend you
oh,
like
I
him.
really like marshmallows.
Yeah.
So tasty.
So, and I know I didn't do a very smooth segue into that. I was just wanting to get Christian's 6 Degrees of Finn. But I did do one, of course. So I did Oscar Isaac. Um, I didn't really
Whoa there. Whoa, Erin. That's for the after dark.
yes, that's where it's a fandom thing after dark. So Oscar Isaac was in A Most Violent Year with Jessica Chastain, who was in The Martian with Matt Damon. This is funny because Christian and I were on the same wavelength there. And Matt Damon, of course, Ben Affleck and Matt Damon, they're connected. And Ben Affleck, of course, was in the snail propaganda movie Deep Water with Finn. That snail propaganda movie. Yeah, little trivia. Jen, my podcast brain twin from my streaming bubble, the snails haunt her too. They are everywhere. She gets stuff about snails constantly.
Oh my god, that's so funny. And you can get snail propaganda merch on It's a Fandom Thing Pod's Redbubble store. If you are really, really into snails, or even if you're really, really into telling people that there's a snail propaganda, you can declare that aloud with some stickers.
Yes, it's a snail thing. I always forget we have that. Thank you. But we also have It's a Christian effing Bale thing. And you can get that in our Redbubble store. We do have It's a Finn Whitrock thing. We have It's a fanfic thing. It's a Dean thing. It's a Destiel thing. It's the whole Doctor Who thing. I don't know the times, but whatever it is. I'm sorry, I'm not a Doctor Who person. So we have a bunch of things. It's a horror thing. It's a horror thing.
Whoa, well that's again on the After Dark channel. Like
It's a horror. It's a horror thing. So yes, you can go to the support us tab on our website. But thank you so much, Carla, for joining me for this one to talk about this movie. And this was Carla's pick, by the way, the promise was. So thank you for selecting it. And really quickly, it's really funny because Carla and I were talking last week. We were talking in between recordings and saying, well, we're going to run out of Christian Bale movies. And so I went and looked at our master list we have. We still have like, not including like some voice work and not including like TV movies. We still have like 20 movies of it. So
the man's been busy.
So we have at least 5 more years before we run out. And then we'll just we'll do like, but we're probably going to do a Bale off thing for our marathon streaming event. So,
yes, and also Christian has 5 years to put out like another 10. So
that's true. Don't go retiring on us, Christian.
I know, please. Please, what do we do with ourselves every January?
I know, and you can't retire until I get to interview you, Dave.
I know. Rude.
I think you'd like to be interviewed by me, Christian.
I think so too. I think you should just do it. You can contact Erin directly. She will tell you how in a few very short moments.
I will. Yes, yes. So we are going to go ahead and close this one out, and I'm going to have my lovely unofficial January co-host, Miss Carla, tell everybody where you can be found and where your podcast, Bedwetter Behead, where there is a Christian Bale episode, where that can be found.
Well, yes, you can in fact find that episode and very many others on it's a Phantom Thing pod. No, not on that one. That's this one. No, but you can find them on Bedwetter Behead Podcast, which you can find wherever you found this podcast. And if you thought my choice of movie was excellent, just imagine the choices I make of bedding, wedding, or beheading any of a trio of characters from so many movies and TV shows. You can also find our social media presence, where social media presences can be found. Look for Bedwetter Behead Pod. You can find me, my art, and my musings on TikTok and Instagram at Carla Temis or my website, carlatemis.com. That's CarlaTemis.com.
Awesome. Thank you. And you can follow Fergie, the horror loving dog, which I'm sure every month she's like, why doesn't this guy do more horror movies? I agree. I mean,
just set her up a different TV so she can watch American Psycho.
Yeah, just watch that over and over again.
That can be your TV, Fergie. I'm gonna now watch a very serious biopic that Christian Bale was in.
Yeah, she's not gonna be into next week's movie at all. But anyway, you can follow her on TikTok at Schroeder and Fergs. That's SCHROEDERANDFERGS. It's long, but it's worth it. Be sure to like the show on Facebook at facebook.com/It's a Fandom Thing Pod, on Twitter at Fandom Thing Pod, on what are those? I almost said Twitch.
No, it's in that
we're
one.
Not on Twitch. Oh yeah, no, it's not one. Thank you. We're not on Twitch. Wait a minute. I almost said
Twitch.
on Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky Social, and TikTok at It's a Fandom Thing Pod. If you have any feedback, show notes, Christian, if you need to get a hold of us to schedule that interview, feel free to reach out to us via our website. It's a fandomthingpod.com. You simply click the contact us button there. That shoots me an email. I'll get back to you as soon as I can. You can listen to all my past interviews. There's a special page just for interviews, and you can listen to them and see how great I am at that. Actually, it's one of the few things that I will hype myself up on because I think I'm actually really good at it. So go there.
Is for real amazing.
Thank you. And God, you're on the top of my bucket list, Christian. So, but while you're there, you can also become a Patreon subscriber. For as little as $3 a month, you get ad-free content. You get episodes a day early. You win prizes. You get bonus content, so much more. And we love you a little bit more. Just a little bit more. But you can click the link in the show notes or go to the support us tab on our website. It's a fandomthingpod.com. And next week, we are continuing our celebration of Christian effing Bale with the panelist pick. And this now is a full panel, completely full. So it is going to be Carla, Erin A, and Paula are going to be joining me to discuss Little Women from 1994. Yeah.
1994, only a couple years ago.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm glad we're getting this one out of the way. Anyway, I'm sorry. So until next time, remember, it's a fandom thing. Black Lives Matter, stop Asian hate, and free Palestine.